Hey guys, I'm here with a Sydney Watson video titled The Harry Potter Reboot is about to... Wow, I can't read. The Harry Potter Reboot is already a nightmare.
Does anyone want to pass to say the inward?
I have to imagine this is about the casting of Snape as a black actor.
Potter,
Oh,
do you know what the inward is?
what
Just a
is
reminder
this?
that any profits made from the new Harry Potter show is going to be used to fund anti-trans organizations.
Looked in the online, and there were photographs of Nick Frost as Hagrid, along with the new Harry Potter walk. And I'm thinking, and he's wearing the exact same costume that we designed for Hagrid. Part of me was like, what's the point?
Why do they keep doing this?
It's a good question, Sydney. Why do they keep
Hi,
rebooting
my name
things?
is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. To answer the question that may or may not have popped into your head upon reading the title of this video, no, I am not clairvoyant, but I might as well be at this stage. So no, I cannot foresee the future, but I am a millennial who has lived through this weird era of remakes and reboots and whatnot, so
Yep.
I am, shall we say, quite good at pattern recognition. Which leads me to firmly believe that the upcoming 2026 Harry Potter reboot is not going to be as terrific as I'm sure HBO is hoping. Sorry
yeah.
to be the bearer.
I don't have a whole lot of hope for the Harry Potter remake. Maybe I'm just a little too black-pilled at this point. Maybe I'm just a doomer pessimist, but I highly doubt it's going to be good.
Of bad tidings. This is not related at all to this subject matter, but I want to tell you guys I am really tired and therefore hanging by a proverbial thread, so if I don't show up as much this way in this video and it's mostly just voiceover, please forgive me. If you're new here, this is what I look like, and I'm usually in the videos more. I am so tired and I don't feel like being on camera.
No, Sydney, you can't do that. People will click off the video if there's not a pretty girl on the screen. Come on. Do it for me.
Anyway, if you have been following the news at all, which I'm sure the majority of you have, in late March we were finally given a trailer for the new Harry Potter show, giving us a little snippet into what is to come. If she hasn't been attacked with a copyright claim, Editing Sydney will have left in the trailer here for you to watch, but if we have been attacked, then she probably will have added a bunch of stills instead, which are...
The casting for Harry seems pretty good, honestly. He looks like Harry Potter.
less interesting, but that's the way it is. Either way, the trailer gave us a good look at young Harry Potter living in his little cupboard there under the stairs, being abused by Aunt Petunia. It shows Hagrid being Hagrid. We get a good look at Ron and Hermione interacting with Harry, and importantly, we get a small look at our boy Black Snape. He shows up only briefly though, illuminating a hallway with his wand. HBO also seems to have dropped a handful of images of the cast as well. Again, you have Harry pushing a little cart at the train station,
Yeah.
Dumbledore doing whatever he's doing here, and again we have Snape standing in a forest against a snowy backdrop. Now,
It's not just Black Snape, but Black Snape with dreadlocks. It's like Hollywood thinks that all black people have just one hairstyle.
because I am slightly late to the commentary on this topic, I am sure that all of you by now have seen someone somewhere complaining about how absurd this looks.
I just anticipate online edits of every time Black Snape is on screen, a ceiling bird chirps.
And I know that probably will upset some people to hear, but there is just so much wrong with depicting Snape this way. But what I find so funny about this situation is how it's upset both sides of the aisle pretty equally, but for completely different reasons. And I think that in large part has kind of set the stage for what's going to happen to this reboot when it's released. I don't have high expectations. I do have extremely high expectations, though, when it comes to fighting data brokers on the internet, which is why it's so important that you
Ad.
hear about the sponsor of today's video, Incogni. Because if you Google
Incogni.
yourself, you will cry with how much is public. Identity theft. I get it. That sounds like a thing that happens to other people. But unfortunately, bucko, it can absolutely happen to you. As our world gets more technologically advanced, the scammers get more technologically advanced as well. And given the fact that right now your private information is publicly available on hundreds of data broker websites, things are not looking so good.
If they could prevent me from getting the scam calls all the time, that would be great. I get a scam phone call every day. I got a scam call today from the same people that have been calling me every day this whole week. I don't know why they keep calling me. I keep telling them no. I keep telling them to leave me alone. I am not going to be fooled into purchasing their ridiculousness. But they keep calling every day. I don't get it.
I am serious. Google yourself. You will be horrified with how much information is out there. Not to mention, websites are being hacked every day and your personal details compromised. So even when you think you're safe, you're probably not. In case you didn't know, this is something that I care about very deeply and very strongly. And
a quick security tip for people. If you use Gmail, you can give people a modified version of your email address. For example, if your email address is abc@gmail.com, you can give a address that is abc +Verizon@gmail.com. And you give that to Verizon, and then if you ever receive an email coming in with the +Verizon added to the end of it, you know that it was some sort of leak that came from Verizon.
honestly, so should you. And that's why I'm so glad to be sponsored by Incogni. Incogni helps remove your information from all these data broker sites without actually having to do the legwork. They find and delete your information from hundreds of websites that store and sell everything about you and your online habits. All you have to do is make an account, give Incogni the right to work for you, and then they go ahead and issue takedown notices. Look, for me, they've saved me thousands of hours of doing this myself, and they've removed over 1,000 entries, and they're still going. They even recently introduced the custom removals process where you can submit links to Incogni for them to delete on your behalf as well, just in case you come across something that needs to be taken down ASAP. And if you're at all concerned about Incogni's data removal process being legit, just know that it's been independently verified by Deloitte. So listen, kids, I know that it's
I don't know who Deloitte is. Do I trust Deloitte? Nope.
creepy that people want to buy your information so that they can scam you and spam you and pretend to be you and steal your identity. But if you click the link in the description or go to incogni.com/Sydney, you can get on board with Incogni today and stop this from happening. So use code Sydney for 60% off an annual plan. You will feel better when you know your information's not out there publicly.
Thanks, Sydney.
In my initial video that I made about Black Snape a while back, I went into a lot of detail about why it is an enormous cope to suggest that Snape could be anything other than a pasty white boy. And if you're interested in that explanation, I will link that video in the description.
I didn't realize that she had made a video on that already. I'll have to check that one out.
But to quickly recap, J.K. Rowling has a tendency to change canon whenever it suits her. Dumbledore is now gay, for example, which I am actually positive is going to show up in this reboot. Rowling likes to claim that she left her characters ethnically ambiguous, but this doesn't really fly when you look at her character drawings over the years. Snape is depicted the same way every time. He's also repeatedly described in the books as some variation of white, whether it's pale or pallid or being the color of milk or having a sallow complexion. You get the picture. Also, when J.K. Rowling wanted to specify that a character was something other than white, she'd be pretty damn explicit about that, either telling you that they were black or Indian or giving them names like Cho Chang.
That is the second time you've spoken out of turn, Miss Granger. Are you incapable of restraining yourself, or do you take pride in being an insufferable know-it-all?
Point being, Snape is described very specifically with his skin color more or less referenced, despite everybody trying to argue otherwise. You are wrong. Accept it. Anyway, unsurprisingly, these new depictions of Snape quite clearly sent the internet into a tailspin, leading to a bunch of these mockery videos being made.
Listen up, motherfuckers. This right here, this the one. Dropping this motherfucking fried chicken in. Now watch. This, the motherfucking potion that creates infinite watermelon.
Potions is good for everything.
Oh my
Potions get them
gosh.
galleons. Potions get super fine hoes.
You need to put a fool on ice?
I probably
Potions gonna do that too.
shouldn't be laughing. Oh my gosh.
Hold up. Is that Harry Potter?
People again pointed out how silly some plot lines are going to look now, such as having James Potter bullying
This is actually what I was thinking of for quite a while, that James Potter bullying Snape is definitely going to be turned into a racist thing. That James Potter is racist now.
Snape as a child, having Harry be automatically skeptical of him. Apparently all the rage around this has also led to Papa Asiadu, the actor who is set to play Snape, being sent death threats for his role. Which, you know, like...
I'd like to see proof of that. I heard that he made that claim, but haven't seen any receipts. It's not like it's completely outlandish to believe that he is receiving death threats, but people like to stretch the truth when it comes to death threats. So I'm skeptical until I see something.
I mean, I still get death threats for saying that men can't be women. It is the internet, after all. And some people have low impulse control. What can I say? This also might sort of be an unpopular opinion. I'm sure you guys will let me know. But yes, of course, sending death threats, receiving death threats, not okay, not acceptable. I don't condone that.
Right.
But I am not super sure what Papa Asiadu, the actor playing Snape, was expecting in this case. He accepted a role for a character that he's not suited for, that he's wholly...
When I say I'm skeptical about the death threats, I'm kind of skeptical. I'm not skeptical that he's getting angry remarks and angry comments. Of course he is. Of course he's getting angry remarks and comments. But what is he classifying as death threats? Like, is somebody saying, "Oh, I wish you didn't exist"? Is that a death threat? Is it really a threat? A threat is a claim that you're going to actually do something. So if you're just saying you wish something was a different way, it's not necessarily a threat. It's not necessarily nice to say, but I don't know. I'm skeptical until I see it.
Ill suited for. People were obviously going to have strong feelings about that. Again, it's not okay. I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm also not sure what he was expecting. I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm only a humble tea saleswoman who's been around the internet and seen the same thing happen a million times. Speaking of tea, if you haven't already, you should go check out my tea website, lionsteaexchange.com. I will link it in the description box. I have a bunch of terrific flavors, and hey, guess what? My flavor Raspberry Elderflower Rosé is back in stock, and everybody seems to like that one, so go get yourself a box. Do it now. Go, link in the description.
Speaking of tea, I don't have a tea exchange. I don't have anything like that, but I do have a YouTube channel and an X account.
Anyway.
So if you don't mind following me over on X and subscribing to the video, or subscribing to my channel, I am trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of April. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks.
Importantly, a bunch of people, me included, are feeling really quite disappointed with all of this and have either decided that they won't be watching, or they have realized that this is probably going to suck. And we'll come back to that point. That's the pattern recognition thing that I was talking about earlier. At the same time, progressives all over the shop have avowed that they will not be watching this reboot either. The outlet The Verge even published this fun article headlined, "There is no ethical consumption of HBO's Harry Potter series." This piece explains that as much as fans might be excited about this new show, there's no way to watch this show without supporting Rowling's bigotry and the structural violence she's inflicting on a vulnerable minority.
Oh my gosh, give me a break. I have seen people online arguing back and forth, though, about how you are racist if you don't support it, but then you're homophobic, you're transphobic if you do. So there's some infighting in some communities as to whether or not it's actually okay to support it. Honestly, if it's a good show, I'll watch it, and I don't really care. I just really doubt that it's going to be good.
That minority being trans people. It also outlines the ways that J.K. Rowling is apparently a horrible transphobe and explains that every penny she makes will be used towards more transphobia. Really what they're describing here is her supporting women's rights.
Yeah, absolutely. She supports a lot of initiatives in the UK for women's rights.
Specifically, those of us who have magical pollen patches? Maybe? No? Is that? Maybe that's not the euphemism. To be honest with you all, Rowling's support for women's rights has always been mislabeled as transphobia, and it's so out of control how many people say she hates trans people, but no one can actually point to anything that she said that was actually hateful.
Because she hasn't said anything that's actually hateful, at least not that I've seen. the worst that I've seen that she said is that she believes that cis women and trans women have different life experiences, and so she does not believe that trans women are women because they are different, which makes sense.
A couple years ago, a Huffington Post journalist once combed through everything Rowling had ever said on the matter of transgenderism and couldn't find a single instance where she actually expressed hatred for trans people. Yeah, so by the way, Mr. Asiadu, you want to hear about someone who's gotten real death threats? Yeah, well, there's like literal music videos from trans people talking about unaliving J.K. Rowling, so you know, do with that what you will. Anyway, I have seen this claim about Harry Potter sales funding transphobia come up over and over and over again in leftist circles online. This video is from 2024, where the claim is just being made generally.
I mean, the reality is, like, you shouldn't, because the idea of, like, every time you view that, she's getting a penny, and then that penny's going to fund anti-trans legislation in the UK.
Here is another video from 2025 after the new...
Honestly, I think they shouldn't watch or read J.K. Rowling because they need to just find a different book. Read a different book. Learn a different fandom. Like, how is it that... I don't know. It's been, what, like 20 years or something? More than since those books started coming out. And so many of these people, millennials, my generation, cringe, are so focused on everything from these books. They've so consumed by it. They relate everything in life as though it were Harry Potter, as though Harry Potter were real. They act like it is real. You need to expand your horizons. Find something else. That's why you shouldn't be watching it.
New show was announced.
Just a reminder that any profits made from the new Harry Potter show is going to be used to fund anti-trans organizations.
And here are a bunch of these videos from the last few days. They are really something.
People don't want you to boycott the new Harry Potter show because they're snowflakes who can't handle the fact that J.K. Rowling is a transphobe. They want you to boycott it because watching it directly harms trans people.
Name a single trans person that is directly harmed by it.
Financially.
The only reason that this is happening is because J.K. Rowling is so pissed off that Rupert and Emma and Daniel will not agree with her transphobia. She wants to punish them, and she had to replace them with more compliant children.
I didn't know you could read.
Anyway, so you might be wondering at this juncture why I am telling you this. And I'm trying to get to the point, Simon, but you rush me. I think that this reboot is more or less dead in the water. And if it's not dead in the water, then it's going to grossly underperform for a bunch of reasons. It has upset OG fans who will never see Snape as anyone other than Alan Rickman.
I've seen plenty of people saying that they should have got Adam Driver to play Snape. I can see that. I can see the look is right, but I honestly don't like him as an actor, so whatever.
Or an Alan Rickman-shaped person, like Adam Driver.
Oh gosh dang it.
It has also pissed off leftists because they absolutely...
Sometimes I need to just wait and listen for a couple seconds longer before I say anything.
Absolutely hate J.K. Rowling and have been attacking Harry Potter for years as a result. And so it sort of leaves the show in a bit of a weird limbo. I really think if the casting directors had just gone ahead and cast an appropriate looking Snape, normal people and normal fans would be either ambivalent towards this or excited about the show and would be coming to its defense. But instead, it has absolutely set the stage for what we can expect going forward. Harry Potter was something that millennials grew up with. We grew up reading it, we grew up enjoying it, and so when the films were announced in the early days, back when we were young, it was exciting to see this world that we all knew and loved come to life. That is not the case for this younger generation, and they have no emotional attachment to this franchise. Just because they might like it at a glance doesn't mean that they are invested in the same way that we were. I saw earlier someone say that HBO knew that they were going to do some shifty things, which is why they threw the nostalgia viewers a bone, saying that this show would be book faithful. But because we all have eyeballs, we can already see that this isn't the case. At all. And don't misunderstand me, I'm not saying that the original movies were by any means perfect. They weren't. They left out key characters, they rewrote Hermione's entire personality, basically, and made her a bit of a Mary Sue. Professor McGonagall...
They made her a Mary Sue, and they they really did Ron poorly. They took a lot of the moments that were supposed to be Ron's big moments and gave them to Hermione instead.
Got absolutely neutered, especially in the 5th movie where she should have been handing Dolores Umbridge a whole buffet of L's. I can't be the only person who hated Dolores Umbridge more than Voldemort. A Dark Lord bent on murder and power, that I can handle, but malicious bureaucracy? Ugh. They also really unfairly made Ron a lot dumber in the movies than in the books.
They really did.
Frickin' mudbloods. But I can almost guarantee that this show will be full of the same unnecessary leftism that we have come to know and love in other resurrected franchises. Except I think in this
I really hope not.
case, it'll be a lot more subversive and a lot less on the nose, but it'll still be there nonetheless.
I'm surprised, that they have Ron as a redhead. With the way that Hollywood has been removing redheads and replacing them with people of color, I'm very surprised that they didn't make that change.
And this is what I meant earlier when I was talking about pattern recognition. I don't think that this show is going to suck because I'm some angry naysayer who just wants to see everything fail. I mean, in this case, I kind of want it to fail because I want them to finally learn the lesson to make something new.
I don't want it... do I want it to fail? I don't know. I want it to be good. If it's going to exist, it needs to be good. If you're not able to create something that's genuinely good, then make something else. Like, don't ruin a franchise.
Race swapping, everyone.
Yeah, that I can agree with.
Because we have seen this exact situation play out over and over and over again. A franchise that we know and love and adore and know quite intimately gets a reboot, and then it immediately gets the modern treatment. I mean, if we're being real, a bunch of videos that I've made recently have been about this exact issue, and it looks like Harry Potter is the next one on the chopping block. Not to mention, I don't really have anything outside of anecdotal observations to back this up, but I feel like they're launching the show for a demographic of people, young people especially, who are not interested in this franchise in the same way that we were as children. They don't have the same relationship to it. And
yeah, maybe they're hoping that they can develop that sort of relationship with it, but it seems unlikely to me.
so, you know, not to put too fine a point on it, but what's the
Sorry, I did not silence my phone.
point? This was articulated by one of the primary figures who worked on 2 Harry Potter films, Chris Columbus. And on a podcast in late 2025, he argued that if the show was largely a play-by-play of the films, then what precisely is the point of remaking it?
That's a good question, because the films are still perfectly valid. There's nothing wrong with I mean, people have some issues with the films, as was stated before, about how it doesn't match up exactly with the books. But overall, the films are still good movies, so I don't see why they wouldn't just keep watching those instead of remaking this. Doesn't really serve any need.
You had to cut down the first 2 Harry Potter books into shorter films. When you look at people making these big HBO series who can sort of cover every piece of dialogue on every page, are you jealous of that, or do you think that's less fun?
Oh, no, I'm sort of like, I'm so beyond it. I did it. My feeling is, okay, I've done that. It's time to move on. I've always had issues with idea of franchise. Same with Potter. I feel like I've done it.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of those films, the first 3 that I was involved with, and I'm moving on. So now it's interesting. As of yesterday, I think, I looked in the online, and there were photographs of Nick Frost as Hagrid.
Yeah, so
along with the new Harry Potter walk. And I'm thinking, and he's wearing the exact same costume that we designed for Hagrid. Part of me was like, what's the point? Part of me is like, okay, great. You're doing, I thought it was going to be, I thought the costumes were, I thought everything was going to be different, but it's more of the same.
And this is largely where I land on this issue as well. This show isn't just an unnecessary cash-grabby reboot. It is structurally set up to fail because it, remarkably, has managed to alienate pretty much everyone who might actually watch it. It has successfully upset both sides of the aisle, but obviously for remarkably different reasons. And when that happens in today's fractured media landscape, the odds of success just plummet. And so we land in this sort of weird place where hardcore fans, or even, I guess, loose fans, are saying hard pass because it disrespects the original source material, and progressives are saying hard pass because it exists at all and will result in J.K. Rowling making more money. When both sides boycott, or at minimum refuse to defend something like this, the middle ground just shrinks to almost nothing. I'm sure that I've mentioned this before, but one of the things that occurred to me again while I was writing this video is Hogwarts Legacy, a video game released a couple years ago that was aggressively hounded by left-wingers because of the aforementioned J.K. Rowling reasons. They called for it to be boycotted, they attacked streamers who played the game, they bullied Steam, they tried to get the game shut down, and yet it did exceptionally well.
I had fun with Hogwarts Legacy. It wasn't the greatest game I'd ever played, but I certainly had fun playing it.
And if you think the show is going to be a similar situation, well, you can bet your bottom dollar that it probably won't be.
No, because I don't think there's the people really defending it on the non-progressive side. There's not a lot of people that are just saying, well, I'm just going to play it anyway, or I'm just going to watch it and see, and you can't tell me what to do. A lot of people seem to be already made up their minds that it's not going to be good, or it's going to be some progressive slop fest, or yeah, I think she's right that it's poised to fail.
Hogwarts Legacy succeeded for 3 primary reasons. Number 1, it was something genuinely new. It's an open world RPG set a century earlier in the Wizarding World, not a rehash of the main story. Second, gamers as a group aren't easily controlled by political whining, unless they're the ones doing the political whining, and in this case they weren't. Third, and crucially, the game didn't actively piss off who would become its core audience before its release. It didn't race swap anybody, it didn't mess with anything. It couldn't have race swapped because it's brand new,
different
so
people.
We didn't have any of that information. But the point is, it didn't look like it was being updated for 2023 sensibilities, because that's when it came out. These are all things that this reboot has already done before it's even hit HBO's platform. One of the last things I want to quickly mention is that I do think personalities like Critical Drinker, for example, actually do have a level of influence over whether people will tune into something or not. I know that sounds kind of mad, and I hate to give online people any sort of importance. That's not a knock on Critical Drinker. He seems really nice. I don't know him personally, but he seems really nice. But that said, people do value the opinions of certain online personalities.
Yeah, I like Critical Drinker and I like his stuff. So yeah, he probably does have some influence. So when he says that it's going to be bad, there's a lot of people that won't even choose to tune in because of that.
Maybe I'm giving these people too much credit, I don't know, but that said, people will often turn to YouTube before they even watch or play something because they want to know the cliff notes of whether it's worth their time and energy. Some of you might remember...
And money. I think it said that this was an HBO product, so I think they're hoping that people will actually purchase HBO or something so that they can watch the show. I don't have access to HBO. I don't want to pay for it. So yeah, I absolutely value hearing other people's opinions on it beforehand to decide whether or not it's worth me spending the money on it.
That Leslie Headland, the showrunner for The Acolyte, admitted in an interview not too long ago that the wave of negative commentary from YouTube channels and fan creators tanked her show's chances of success. Okay. I mean, the show was pretty bad on its own, but there's an element to what she's saying that is true. Countless channels said, "Don't watch this, it isn't good." And the current drama surrounding this Harry Potter reboot sort of expresses a similar sentiment already. Headland said that these creators are opportunists and snake oil salesmen, but I think the point stands. When creators who actually speak to audiences rip something apart episode by episode, people typically listen, and creators often get even more views than some of these shows do. And these days, people do trust independent voices over corporate marketing.
Well, yeah, they need to make a good product then. You're not going to get totally ripped to shreds if you make a good product. Or if you are ripped to shreds, if somebody says it's going to be terrible, surely someone will end up watching it, and then they'll correct them, and then that creator loses credibility they only maintain credibility by being right about these things frequently.
HBO might be hoping that the trailer hype carries it for the next number of months, but if channels like Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker and dozens of others spend the next year cataloging every deviation and every awkward change and every modern update, the show will be poised to fail. It just will. And it will get even worse once the show is released and people can pick it apart, you know, episode by episode, like I said. Fans have really, really long memories, and bad buzz, bad energy around something, I think, is death in the streaming era. And I think this is something that is lost on so many producers, and apparently even on J.K. Rowling herself at this point. Some of you are going to really disagree with this, and that's okay, but I think there is an argument to be made here that this story is no longer hers, and it hasn't been for quite some time. It belongs to the fans, and I know that that is terribly cliche, and I know that it has a bunch of very wide-reaching implications, but I think in this case, I think it's true. A story doesn't rise to being universally recognized because of the author or even the publishing company. Rowling has written other stories, and I bet you can't even name them.
Saying that it belongs to the fans is the same way that you could say that Star Wars belongs to the fans, but it still gets bastardized and changed anyways. So I wish it were true that the story belonged to the fans and that it was able to be kind of, that there was some sort of custodian that took care of it without actually changing and modifying it, but that doesn't seem to be the case. That's not the way that fandoms work anymore, unfortunately. Or I don't know that they ever worked that way, but it's not the way that fandoms work.
And books get published from major companies all the time with little to no reaction from people. It is the fandom that falls in love with it that carries it. And if you go and start abusing it in the name of making money or forcing modern socio-political standards on it, the fans will revolt. Because when you do that, it's no longer the story that people love. It's effectively bad fan fiction. And Rowling has a bad habit of turning her own masterpieces into exactly that. And that's exactly what this reboot is gearing up to be. Bad fan fiction. Before I round out this video and stop talking...
It reminds me of my wife is a huge Lord of the Rings fan. She loves the books. She loves the Lord of the Rings movies. When Rings of Power came out, she started watching it, and I don't know that she watched the whole thing of it, but I know she watched it. And she had explained that it's not Lord of the Rings. It's Lord of the Rings fan fiction. It's bad fan fiction. But she was finding some enjoyment out of it, despite it being terrible. And I think that's fine. If you find enjoyment out of it, that's awesome. But I think it's also fine to recognize that something is not the source material and that it is a cheap knockoff.
Torturing all of you with my talking. I want to say that typically I'm not somebody who immediately determines that something's going to be good or bad based on very little information. I wouldn't normally look at something like a race swap and say, yes, this is definitively going to be terrible, because I don't actually think that's always the case. There might be elements that kind of suck, but maybe the game or show or film or whatever will ultimately be fine.
That's fair, and certain sorts of swaps can work out okay. I find myself thinking of the Avatar: The Last Airbender live action show that came recently, and I know that a lot of people disliked the change in character for Sokka, in which he was no longer a sexist at the beginning of the show, which in the original cartoon only lasted a few episodes, right? And it was never something that was encouraged. He was always shown to be a bad thing, and he was always being corrected every time he would say something that was even slightly sexist. So I didn't see it as a problem in the show to begin with. But so they changed that in the live action. And a lot of people, knowing that, were thinking that that was going to be bad. And while I was concerned, I saw that it could be replaced with something else. Because the biggest thing that sexism did is it showed how Sokka as a character was from an insular tribe that had their own customs and their own way of doing things that was not the same as the rest of the world, but he was not worldly. He had not experienced things outside of his very limited view, and it was something for him to overcome. You could have replaced it with something else. Now, the problem is that they removed the sexism, but then they didn't replace it with some other struggle for him to overcome, something else that took its place. So similarly with this and the race swapping, it could be fine if they're able to replace it, if they're able to still work the character out and work through all of the kinks in that. But I don't really trust Hollywood to do that these days. I haven't seen that being done well. And so I'm skeptical, to say the least. I doubt that it will be done well.
In this case, I think that the writing is somewhat on the wall, and I think there are a bunch of factors that go into that, and I'm prepared to be wrong. I'm totally prepared for this show to come out and everyone to really enjoy it and have a great time.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe that's how it should go. Maybe that would be the best outcome anyway. But I feel fairly confident in my prediction here, and maybe there's some room as we get closer to this show being released and we get more information and, you know, more visuals and whatnot, maybe I will make an actual proper video explaining my position on this, but you know, we don't really have much else to go off of for the time being. Ultimately, it really doesn't help that this show is launching during a time when resurrecting existing IP is a radioactive action. For a lot of people, it doesn't make them excited, and I'm sure that I'm not alone in this, but whenever I hear that something that existed during my childhood or teen years is being rebooted or remade or whatever, I think, really? Another one? And so in the end, I do think that this show is not going to be terribly good. I think it's going to be disappointing, and I don't think it's going to do super well with a lot of people. I'm sure that it will have an audience, and I'm sure that it will run for 10 years until they finish telling the story, but I don't think it's going to be as good as a lot of people are hoping, and for that, I am very, very sorry. Like I always say, when we have this little information, all we really can do is just sit back and watch and hope for the best, but I feel pretty confident in the predictions that I have made here. Now, on that note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder to check out Incogni using the link in the description. I feel very strongly about protecting yourself on the internet. This is not a joke. So if you are worried about all of your private personal information being leaked, being out there, being sold, absolutely check Incogni out. Now I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are you on my side of this?
I think I am on your side.
This issue where you think, yeah, this reboot is probably not gonna be very good? Are you on the other side where you think, no, Sydney, you're being terribly unfair, it's going to be great, stop being a butthead?
No, I'm not on that side. I think that it's okay to see the patterns and recognize that this is likely not going to be very good.
Are you in the middle and you don't really care, you just came here to dunk on Black Snape? Maybe that's what you're all about.
All right, well, that was that video. Thank you, Sydney Watson, for another fantastic video. I will have a link to her video in the description down below, as always. I am interested to hear your guys' thoughts on what you think of Harry Potter franchise as a whole, as well as if you think that this reboot is going to have any merit, if it's going to be good at all. Either way, we can disagree, and that's fine, but I'd be interested to hear it. Thanks, guys. Oh no, you've ended up in my den. You must think that this is the end, but you have no need to fret. There is still more to come yet. Click on subscribe to let YouTube know just how far this channel should go. More will come later, or if you so need, click on another video to see more of me in your feed.